A prince who rarely lectures, prefers pilots to pronouncements, and treats influence like a lever you pull only when the gears are ready. That prince is William. His vision, as we can see it, isn't a manifesto, it's a method. Identify a national pain point, build coalitions, prototype locally, scale globally, and keep politics out of the room. Climate innovation, ending homelessness, tackling the illegal wildlife trade, and youth mental health, each has become a testbed for that method. Tonight, we're unpacking how these strands knit together. A modern, pragmatic monarchy with fewer projects, deeper commitments, and a bias for measurable outcomes. Along the way, you'll hear did you know moments. The number of people sleeping rough on a single autumn night in England, the £1 million awards that seed breakthrough climate solutions, the hundreds of criminal investigations disrupted by a royal-led anti-trafficking alliance, and a text line that has handled more than 1 million mental health conversations. Beyond ceremony, the blueprint of a pragmatic monarchy. If you want a slogan for William's approach, it might be this: be neutral, be useful. Constitutionally, the monarchy stays out of party politics, but it can convene. That's the lane. So William convenes. He doesn't lobby Parliament. He assembles councils, mayors, CEOs, frontline charities, and scientists, then points them at a specific problem with a 5-year horizon and a scoreboard attached. His office and the Royal Foundation keep reinforcing the same design features: short, clear missions, cross-sector partnerships, public dashboards, and a willingness to publish impact reports that can be interrogated. Meanwhile, the Duchy of Cornwall, which funds much of the Prince and Princess of Wales's official work, has been setting out net zero plans and experimenting with social projects on its own land. The effect is subtle but significant. The monarchy as platform architect, not policymaker. Did you know? Although the monarchy is politically neutral, it advises and warns ministers privately and acts as a nonpartisan focal point for national life. William's blueprint leans into that quiet power. Put a network in place, set an achievable target, and get out of the way while practitioners do the work. Climate as a confidence game, Earthshot, and the investor mindset. William's most famous lever is the Earthshot Prize, a decade-long hunt for scalable environmental solutions. Every year, 5 winners receive £1 million each and, more importantly, access to a global coalition of funders and operators. In 2024, the awards week landed in Cape Town, with winners ranging from nature restoration in Central Asia to youth-led circular economy ventures in West Africa and an industrial waste heat-to-power solution in the United States. The vision is in the architecture. Earthshot doesn't just give trophies, it builds a pipeline, scouting thousands of nominations, surfacing 15 finalists, then matching them to mentors, corporates, and governments. In 2024 alone, nominations topped 2,400, with roughly 40% from the Global South, and the organization launched Launchpad, an investor portal that spotlights curated solutions with hundreds of millions of pounds in funding needs. It's philanthropy with a venture bias: de-risk, syndicate, scale. Did you know? By mid-2025, Earthshot counted 60 finalists and 20 winners from 5,000 plus nominations since launch, with tens of millions of pounds in prize grants and additional capital channeled to the cohort. And this year, the awards head to Rio de Janeiro, synced to the broader climate calendar to pull in Latin American investors and policymakers. The takeaway? William's climate play is less about speeches and more about capital allocation, the quiet engine of real-world change. Homewards ending homelessness, one borough at a time. Britain's homelessness numbers are stubborn and, in places, rising. On a single autumn night in 2024, officials estimated 4,667 people sleeping rough in England, up 20% year on year. In London alone, the count hit 1,318, a 16% jump. Behind the counts are families in temporary accommodation, young people aging out of care, and workers priced out by rents. Enter Homewards, William's 5-year program to make homelessness rare, brief, and unrepeated. Rather than a national edict, it backs 6 flagship locations: Aberdeen, Bournemouth, Christchurch, and Poole, Lambeth, Newport, Northern Ireland, and Sheffield, each with a local coalition and an action plan. Year 1 was foundation building, data sharing agreements, landlord partnerships, prevention pilots. Year 2 has moved to delivery, early housing schemes, youth prevention pathways, and wraparound support. A telling example: in Lambeth, Homewards unveiled an innovative housing project for young people, 18 to 25, 16 independent living homes to act as a bridge between supported housing and the private rental market. In Cornwall, on Duchy of Cornwall land at Nansledan, ground has broken on the first phase of accommodation for people facing homelessness. Are these numbers small against the national need? Yes, and critics say so. But the point of Williams' method isn't volume on day 1. It's proof of what works in real communities with pathways that other councils can copy. Did you know? The government's own rough sleeping data framework shows many more people experiencing rough sleeping over a month than appear in single-night snapshots, highlighting why prevention and rapid rehousing are so vital. Security, species, and supply chains united for wildlife. If climate is a confidence game, wildlife crime is a supply chain game, and Williams' answer is united for wildlife. Built inside the Royal Foundation, it aligns transport and finance companies with law enforcement so traffickers can't move product or money. The stats are formidable. Since its task forces were created, the network has supported hundreds of investigations, driven nearly 300 seizures of illegal wildlife products, and trained over 100,000 people to spot and stop trafficking. This is the same playbook. Convene the people who control choke points, publish principles the sector can adopt, and keep expanding the alliance. The deeper logic is national as well as global. Britain's credibility in conservation and rule of law circles grows when a future monarch helps retool corporate systems to close criminal loopholes. It's soft power, rendered operational. The human temperature, mental health, and the Shout lifeline. Williams' longest arc is mental health. Through Heads Together and related programs, he's helped shift the national language from stigma to everyday care. Football campaigns, celebrity interviews, and workplace guides that make it normal to say, "I need help." The most telling metric isn't a slogan, it's a text number, Shout 85258. Launched publicly in 2019 with Royal Foundation support, Shout has since handled well over 1 million conversations, offering free 24/7 support to people in crisis, many of them teenagers or young adults. Why include this in a vision for Britain? Because it's infrastructure, quiet, invisible, life-saving infrastructure. When you pair mental health prevention with housing prevention, you start to turn off the taps that feed rough sleeping, addiction, and avoidable harm. The ambition here is cultural, a Britain where asking for help is ordinary and help actually answers. The Crown's next chapter: fewer, deeper, measurable. So, step back. What does Williams' vision add up to? Not a throne speech, those are written by governments, but a systems approach to national well-being. Climate, back the solutions, build investor pipelines, and put Britain at the center of a global scaling network. Homelessness, start in 6 places, design models that work, and make the outcomes copy and paste. Wildlife crime, choke the routes and the money, measure the hits, make British convening power count. Mental health, keep normalizing the ask, turn awareness into always-on services. Humor me for a second. If you swap the coronet for a project management dashboard, this is what you'd see. OKRs that combine local pilots with global alliances. And the public mood? Polling in 2025 places William among the most popular senior royals. That matters because legitimacy is the monarchy's air supply. Here's the challenge. None of this works without evidence and patience. Homewards will be judged on fewer people living and dying on our streets. Earthshot's scorecard is startups that cross the valley of death and cut real emissions. United for Wildlife must keep raising the cost of trafficking. shout must remain funded and findable at 3 a.m. If there is a royal resurgence to be had, it won't arrive in a gold coach. It'll look like a council tenancy secured just in time, a startup that turns heat into clean power, a freight clerk who recognizes a falsified manifest, a teenager who texts 85258 and lives to tell the story. That's a vision worth backing, not for pageantry, but for proof. If you agree, share this, then pick one lever: climate, housing, wildlife, mental health, and add your weight. That's the kind of team game even a monarchy can play.